You can't stump the Trump. When are people going to figure out this very basic and simple principle? You can't stump him. I mean, they started out by just throwing around claims of racism and sexism with, of course, no real basis in reality. Then they moved to myoptically focusing on the grab him by the pussy comment. And then when Trump won, they immediately pointed the finger at Putin, accusing him of essentially personally hacking voting machines, when just a week before, the same legacy media outlets making these accusations had actually mocked Trump for his statements regarding hacking because our election is, quote, unhackable. Of course, what they meant by hack the election, which in regards to voting machines actually pretty much is unhackable, what they were referring to though was the WikiLeaks publications of DNC and John Podesta emails, all because those emails revealed and illustrated just how deep the roots of corruption ran to the core of Clinton's campaign. As such, when that failed to stick, out comes the Piss dossier, a complete and utter piece of nonsense and fanfiction that was written, at least in part, apparently by a 4chan shitposter. So when that failed to stick, they started crying about his taxes, and in what is already one of my top moments of 2017, Rachel Maddow actually released Trump's taxes, which to her own horror revealed that in 2005, Trump paid a higher percentage than Bernie Sanders and Mitt Romney, among many others. Woo, lads, that was delicious. Yes, Rachel, I wish I could have been there to lick the salty tears off your greasy cheeks after that one. So yeah, that one obviously also didn't stick and was quickly swept up under the rug since, after all, as legacy media outlets such as the New York Times often pay zero taxes, continuing to feign outrage at Trump's tax history would probably not have been a wise avenue of behavior for them. Every single week, there's some new outrage spewing from the anus of the mainstream media and leftist pundits and their perpetually lying mouths. Every single week, I see Facebook posts claiming this is the scandal that will finally get Trump impeached. And yet, despite this inundation with these so-called scandals, they still don't get it. You can't stump the Trump. And I'm coming to you today, guys, with the newest leftist hissy fit flavor of the week, and I'm mainly bringing it up because 1, I find it hilarious, and 2, it may be one of the most hilarious and funny displays of hypocrisy yet in this continually flowing stream of bullshit coming from the left. But first, I want to take an aside to talk about the 5 stages of grief, because I think that's what the left is doing right now. They're mourning. So probably most of you have heard of the 5 stages of grief. It's a pop culture thing at this point. It's also called the Kubler-Ross model. But before I go over the bereavement of the left, I do want to point out that the model is not really based on any solid quantitative data, and as such, I personally dislike it for the same reasons that I am skeptical of 12-step programs. While the 12-step model works for some, and it's very easy to make observations that are seemingly congruous with the Kubler-Ross model, there just isn't any hard data there, so I can't take it at face value as being relevant or being truthful. The model originated in Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's 1969 book On Death and Dying, which continues to be a bestseller. Despite being a psychiatrist and therefore trained in the social sciences, Kubler-Ross based her model on observations of her terminally ill patients, which, while that has some external validity, it was not tested empirically, and subsequent testing has offered both support and criticisms of the 5 stages. I'm going on this little aside because, first of all, it's your social science lesson from me for the day, and 2, because it really boils my butt how these 5 stages are taken as irrefutable fact. I worked as a PR intern, aka a resume slave, many years ago now, for a bereavement counseling nonprofit, and seeing them push stuff like the Kubler-Ross model and her book as the unquestionable truth for those in mourning, yeah, that irritated me a bit. Anyway, away from this aside, and back to my first aside, the 5 stages of grief and the left. Number 1, denial. Well, this one's pretty easy to isolate. Speaking of licking the tears off Rachel Maddow, why don't you just sum it up for us here, Rach?
You're awake, by the way. You're not having a terrible, terrible dream. Also, you're not dead and you haven't gone to hell. This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country. It's real.
You saw this all over the place right after the election. This was the, quote, Russians hacked the election. Putin personally downloaded himself into the net and rode on his Tron bike into every single voting machine where he summoned the GameCube and nulled all the Hillary votes.
Warning, incoming game. Warning, incoming game.
Yeah, seems like denial to me. Number 2, anger. This one is also pretty easy to isolate. Just look at all the riots that broke out in cities like Chicago a few days after Trump was elected. And then, over time, how that anger became more directed into things like the Women's March. All just displays of how angry they are. That's why it's so impossible to identify or isolate what these people, be they peaceful or not, are mad about.
Is there a specific policy that you really don't like?
Multiple. First of all, Donald Trump, he doesn't have a lot of sound policies in the first place. He's angry, and a lot of Americans are angry.
And he's being unfair to all the Mexicans.
How's he being unfair to all the Mexicans?
He wants
what policies?
A bunch. So many I can't even name.
Well, name a couple.
I'm not sure.
If you had illegal immigrants build something for you, and then you're like, no, we need America to build this for us, it's like, why?
What's your issue with Donald Trump?
I guess my issue is that he just talks a lot about how a lot of he just doesn't know what he talks about.
Basically everything is the matter with Donald Trump to me, in my opinion.
They can't even explain what outcome they want from this behavior. They're just being angry. There is nothing they're trying to achieve beyond fuck Drumpf. That's it. Number 3, bargaining. This is where we are now. They are grasping at any possibility to try and stump the Trump. I already said you can't do that. The problem is, for them, not for me. I love this shit, it's funny as hell. The problem is, when you get toward the end of the bargaining stage, the desperation starts to reach a boiling point. And from a bereavement standpoint, that makes sense, right? I'm debating saying this. I think I will. Okay. So, I think I've said this before, but I'm an Odinist, an Asatru, a Norse neo-pagan, whatever you want to call it. And when my hamster was about to die, I got to the point where I started throwing my stones and making a blot to Freya, and just to take him away peacefully. Sorry, I know how cringy that probably is. I mean, I'm sure it was. But that's kind of what the left is doing, and that's why I decided to say it. When you get really desperate, you start to do silly things. I will say, though, the day after I made my blot, my little guy did die in my hands very peacefully. So don't totally knock the Norse gods, guys. Number 4, depression. We're moving towards this state in the left, and I think some of the more level-headed people on the left, I know, seemingly an impossibility when you look at modern leftism, I know, but I think the more level-headed people have probably already moved at least to this stage. One of the reasons that Kubler-Ross's model has been so difficult to quantify is because everyone appears to move through these stages at different speeds, and some will skip entire stages altogether. So maybe the legacy media will never even go through the depression stage. The reason I think we're getting closer to this in general, though, is just from my own observations on my social media, so anecdotal, guys. The people I know who could not stop posting about how much they hate Trump, or how totally real the piss dossier was, or how Trump's totally gonna get impeached over this, well, they've all pretty much gone back to talking about really anything but politics. Not all of them, but a good number of them. So I would imagine they're either depressed or they have entered the final stage. And that's number 5, acceptance. Look, I've said this many times and I will always restate it. While I really like Trump, I think he's far from infallible, trust me. Far from it. And I have many issues with his cabinet and what's going on with Ryan Care, and now looks like maybe some of our internet freedoms may be in jeopardy. I don't like that shit. But it kind of seems like the only people who can honestly critique Trump are those like me who just don't absolutely despise him and don't want to throw everything possible at him in just a vague hope that something will stick with no rhyme or reason and certainly no integrity. Until these people on the left and in the legacy media can just come into their acceptance of the fact that Trump is president and stop blindly hurling allegations at him, nothing bad he actually does will ever come to the forefront out of the massive pile of baseless crap they have created. For the left's own good, and really for the good of the entire United States, they need to reach this stage. Or at least get out of bargaining, because, you guys, it's starting to become really ridiculous. Again, I guess, good for me, bad for you. But as Americans, we should probably get to this acceptance stage. It's going to be better for the health of the entire country, both mental and physical. If you keep going at this rate, guys, somebody's gonna have a heart attack. So here's the point. Let's take a look at the newest scandal that will definitely ensure Trump's impeachment this time. The Independent writer Rachel Roberts reports that Russia hired 1,000 people to create anti-Clinton, quote, fake news in key US states during the election. Trump-Russia hearing leader reveals. This information is coming from Senate Intel Committee's Mark Warner. Warner claimed in a press conference that up to 1,000 Russian hackers, on steroids I'm sure,
they call themselves anonymous. They are hackers on steroids.
Were holed up in a facility in Russia, let's just say Siberia to really paint a picture of what he's talking about, and that they were responsible, although he admits to not knowing exactly how, to making posts about Clinton's health and corruption, which he calls fake news, in key swing states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. So, let's sit back and analyze what's going on here. First of all, Warner is getting his intel from various intelligence agencies, which at this point we really should know are completely untrustworthy. Which we really have known are untrustworthy since the Iraq War and the totally confirmed weapons of mass destruction that never existed. Secondly, he provides no proof for this. And third, Mark Warner just implied that Hillary Clinton lost the election because a small army of Slavic shitposters trash-talked her on local news sites, social media, and sites like Reddit and 4chan. Wow. Just wow. Let me tell you something, Marky Moo. Putin doesn't need to pay Slavs to shitpost. Slavs are born to shitpost. It's in their DNA. You know who else doesn't need to be paid to shitpost about Hillary Clinton? Me. I do it for free. All of us do it for free. This goes back to the video I just made about memes and humor. Our memes and our jokes and our shitposting, it's funny. That's why it's fun and entertaining to engage in. You know who does need to be paid to shitpost, Mark? Hillary Clinton supporters. And this is why this particular headline made me laugh so hard, because Hillary Clinton or George Soros or someone involved in her campaign presumably spent, mixed among all of them, millions of dollars from her massive money-burning campaign to pay interns who, I believe in the words of their own boss, called them perma-virgin basement dwellers, to correct the record about her online. Of course, what correct the record, CTR, means by that is that they were being paid to go online and make shill posts for the Hildebeest. On poll, politically incorrect, the shilling was overwhelming before the election, with countless threads being made and the same images being used over and over and over, with the same messages about how Drumpf is done. And sure, some were trolls, of course, but there was a definite presence of paid posters on freaking 4chan of all places. And by the way, CTR isn't totally gone either. They've merely rebranded themselves as Share Blue, with the express purpose of still correcting the record. Also, it wasn't just online either. In October, I went to my local Craigslist just for funsies, and I don't live in a big city, folks. And even here, on Craigslist, there were ads offering something like $15 an hour to be a screeching harpy and protest Trump. If you look at the Project Veritas videos on the Hill Dogs campaign, and you buy them, and I tend to believe some of it, not all, at face value, there is also some evidence that they paid people not only to attend rallies, potentially even bust them around, but that they also paid people to go out and start fights at Trump rallies. This stuff is all coming from Hillary's campaign. And yet, once again, Trump is the one under fire because maybe Putin hired some guys to post on 4chan? Look, even if Putin really did pay a bunch of teens in vodka and cigarettes and tracksuits to shitpost about Clinton, there's still no connection to Trump. And as a sovereign foreign nation, that's probably not all that unusual in the modern digital age. On the other hand, if paying posters to do something like this is somehow damning, then Hillary is certainly the greatest criminal of them all. As if that's a surprise. What is the argument here that doesn't also completely vilify Hillary or George Soros or whoever was paying for all of this shilling? That it's only wrong if the Russians do it and you can't prove it, but when a US presidential candidate does it excessively and we can prove it, that's not even worth mentioning. Can anyone explain this to me? In what way does this make any sense? All of this is, of course, coming in the wake of the recently trending information from an interview earlier in the month on MSNBC in which Evelyn Farkas, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary, Dang, that's like being temporary relief assistant trailer park supervisor, isn't it? Anyway, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia, and also a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, revealed that she encouraged collecting as much information on Trump in regards to Russia before Obama left office, and that it was kept a secret to prevent Trump's staff from compromising their sources and methods, lest they no longer be able to be allowed to continue gathering this information. Well, it is not a direct admission of wiretapping and spying, yeah, it seems rather unquestionable that the Obama administration was involved in the very least with intelligence gathering and surveillance of Trump in an attempt to connect him to the Russians. Now, I kind of thought we had already settled this. Yes, Trump was being surveilled, but apparently the left is going to just keep ignoring every piece of information that corroborates Trump's wiretapping claim with their fingers in their ears as they shout, "But Obama didn't literally Ocean's 11... Where's the joke there? Ocean's 44? Anyway, but Obama didn't break into Trump Tower in an all-black outfit and personally wiretap it, therefore Trump lied in his tweet." If that sounds hyperbolic, let's just take a look at Snopes. Yeah, that's pretty much what Snopes says about this interview. Obama didn't personally do it, therefore it doesn't matter. It's just like this Russian shitposting thing. It's only wrong when we accuse someone else of doing it. The election was hacked by Putin himself, in between shirtless horseback riding and bear wrestling, with zero evidence or proof. Yet despite a preponderance of evidence that Trump was being at the very least investigated by the Obama administration, because old Barry himself didn't install the surveillance devices, there's nothing immoral or wrong going on here. It's horribly unethical for Putin to hire kids to post about Hillary online, and because it's Putin, it's clear that Trump was involved, despite a total lack of any actual evidence to support any of those claims. Hey, but it's fine for Hillary, the DNC, George Soros, or whoever to create entire companies devoted to shilling for her in a variety of ways, from paid protesters to rabble-rousers to online trolls to simple rally attendees. And this is why I brought up the stages of grief, and why I think we may soon start to see a turn toward depression and ultimately acceptance. Potentially. Not for sure, but potentially. Because this is the level of desperation the left is currently at. I mean, seriously, this is what you're mad about now, Independent. Russian hackers on steroids trashing your girl Hill Dog. Interesting, considering that the Independent is owned by a Russian former KGB officer and his son. Why so pissed off about Russia, Tovarich? Want that glorious and prosperous Soviet Union back? Anyway, I thought this was going to be a quick video. I always think that. It never is. I started writing it because I was horribly sick today, to the point where I thought I might have to go to the doctor, but instead, I just lay down, popped a few painkillers, laughed at the story, until either it or the pills made me feel better, and it made me feel so good, I felt I needed to share it with you. Also, I was very interested to learn today, as a byproduct of this article and this press conference, that I am apparently Russian. Well, my Polish is shit, and my Russian is non-extant. Still, it's quite exciting to know I am now an honorary Russian. Mark Warner, thank you very much. I truly do thank you for making me an honorary Russian, because now I can do this. Anu chiki-briki damke! If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm Aiden Paladin, Altana Volt, Tovarich.
It's my life and it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. I just want to live while I'm alive. It's